Cool. I think we are live, guys. This is our live stream for the Shriners Children's Open for DraftKings DFS. Here on the live stream, we are going to go over our player pool for this week. We're also going to go over some ownership projections, some game theory stuff, and of course, any questions that the live chat has throughout the process. So make sure to sit on back, make some lineups. If you guys have any questions at any point about anything to do with the slate, feel free to go ahead and drop them down in the chat. I'll make sure to answer them as soon as I can see them over there on the notifications tab and whatnot. So to kick things off here, though, I do want to start off with a little bit of a course preview for anyone that hasn't seen the content yet. So first of all, we're playing TPC Summerlin. That is a par 71, right around 7,255 yards. At this golf course, there are three things that come to mind in terms of a skill set fit. First of all, shots gained putting. This is a putter's golf course. Sure, you may argue saying that we've seen some bad putters win in the past, but in terms of correlation modeling, there is no other statistic that ranks in the top 10 of importance at this venue. So putters definitely who we're trying to target here, but not exclusively just putters. We're also looking for people that are very good second shot players, so shots gained approach players. Also very important here at TPC Summerlin. But moreover, and at number 3, we have birdie or better percentage. This is a golf course where the winner the last 2 years was minus 23, and that was at a playoff. So it wasn't necessarily somebody running away with some massive score or anything like that. Everybody was making a ton of birdies here in Las Vegas. So at this venue, looking for some birdie makers, and you'll see that with our results. And speaking of our player pool, we're going to hop right into the player pool for this week. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here for you guys. So cool, got it over there for you. Let's go ahead and start by going through some of my favorite targets here. And you guys are going to see these are my Patreon projections right here. If you guys haven't already joined, I highly recommend you do so. You get access to all these projections right here directly, so you can use them for your own optimizers, that kind of thing. Also access to the Discord. I'll put a link down in the description for anybody watching the replay or anything like that. So keep that in mind. So we're not going to go through every player, just some of the people that I think are notable in this field. So first off, I want to start off with Abraham Answer. If you guys saw my fades and sleeper picks from today, you know that Abraham Answer is somebody I'm huge on. This golf course is very much so fit for him. It's a second shot golf course. And Abraham Answer, one of the best iron players in the world. And on top of that, also somebody who's very good at filling the hole up with the rock, right? Very good with his shots gained putting, particularly on the bent grass surface. So really like him there at $10,400. He's the most expensive option I'm looking to this week. Also playing Webb Simpson. So somebody I was actually fading earlier on the week. I had it flip-flopped between Viktor Hovland and Webb Simpson, but as the week went on, the more and more I thought about it, Webb Simpson is just a much better course fit than Viktor Hovland. Hovland, a little bit more of a ball striking kind of guy. Webb Simpson, a little bit more well-rounded, right? Very good on bent grass, good putter as well. So for Webb Simpson, he's the better birdie or better percentage player, the better putter of the two. Also gets hot with the ball striking. So looking for a ceiling week from Webb there. In terms of some of my favorite plays on the slate, so those guys up there are a little bit more expensive than I'd hope. I actually think that Louis Oosthuizen, also Scotty Scheffler here at $9,900 and $9,700 could very easily be priced higher than those other two, right? There are people that I actually see with a higher ceiling than those two. So I'm actually going to have a ton of ownership with these two rather than the guys up top. The guys up top are going to be more of sprinkles in my lineups. In terms of core cash plays, that kind of thing, I'm living with these two, especially with their price tag. Let's talk about some of the guys I'm fading here. So first off, actually, let's go to the top, talk about the top end fades before we get down to this 9K range there. Brooks Koepka, if you guys saw the fades video, just not a golf course he should really excel at. I mean, we've seen that over the years. He has a second place finish here. That is the positive end of the volatility, but we've also seen a ton of missed cuts. Again, he's just not somebody who's very reliable with the putter, and we're looking for putting specialists here. I mean, obviously it's Brooks Koepka. There's a reason why he has 3 major championships. It's because he can roll the rock when it matters. At this golf course, you can argue whether he actually cares about it and whether it actually matters to him. So I think that's why we've seen so much volatility in his results. And for that reason, I'm out. If you guys have seen Shark Tank, you get that reference. Let's talk about Viktor Hovland. Again, it was the putting issue, same type of thing there. Let's talk about Harris English and Sungjae Im. This is going to seem weird about Harris English. You can call me foolish all you want. I'm a stat guy, right? So I don't typically make this kind of assertion, but Harris English had to change his putter grip, something he's had since he was in high school golf. They made him do it at the Ryder Cup due to some weird rules change. Somebody on the European team called him out for it. It had a partial tear in it. It had a little piece hanging off or something like that. And for whatever reason, they thought it was a competitive advantage and he had to change his grip. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to go out and lose 8 strokes putting or anything like that this week, but anytime you lose something like that, something's a little bit off, it can creep into somebody's confidence. So I just like the options around him a little bit more. Obviously, Hideki Matsuyama, a much better ball striker. He's also looked pretty good with the putter of late. I don't hate going there. Also just love Louis and Scotty Scheffler a whole of a hell lot more, right? So I'm okay fading Harris English. Maybe it's just a superstitious part of me, but I don't like hearing those kind of things, especially out of somebody who's a putting specialist. At Sungjae Im, I would be all over Sungjae Im, except he lost a ton of strokes with his approach play last week, gained over 5.5 strokes around the green. Not what you want to see from somebody who's typically one of the better ball strikers in the world. Down to Siwoo Kim, complete opposite problem. Somebody who was really okay with his ball striking, but was putting the absolute lights out. Somebody who typically doesn't do that. So if we're going to get some positive mojo going with the flat stick for Siwoo Kim, I really like the potential there. Somebody who obviously has the propensity and the ability to get it to 23, 25 under par. We saw him absolutely ramsack the American Express last year. I actually have these golf courses as relatively similar comps, right? Easy golf courses where putting is a little bit more emphasized than your ball striking is. Siwoo Kim ransacked the field like that. So love the comp courses. Love the little bit of good play that we've seen of late as well. Paul Casey, if you guys have seen my video, you guys know that I'm not all over Paul Casey this week, right? Somebody who does it with the ball striking, a very similar player to Victor Hovland, except a little bit of a worse putter. So not on Victor Hovland this week, not going to be on Paul Casey either. We have a comment down here that said, "What's up, Luke? Hey, what's going on, man? Hopefully work was okay today. You guys are hanging out, making some lineups. Can't complain, doing well though." Let's get back into some of these picks here. And again, I'll remind you guys, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to put them down in the chat. It can be about somebody that we're talking about right now, somebody I may have skipped over just because we can't talk about everyone in the field. Whatever it is, feel free to put it down there, and I'll get to it at some point. Getting back to the picks, though, Corey Connors, I don't really know what to do with him. I don't love the ownership at 18.8%, and I'm not completely enthralled about his course fit here. So probably somebody that ends up being a fade just because of ownership. Obviously has a very high birdie or better percentage, very good with his approach play. So not somebody I hate. I just like people like Jason Kochrack and Patrick Reed a whole lot more. So we'll start off with Jason Kochrack here. If there's anybody in this field that has the most misleading finishes of late, and it's not even close, it's Jason Kochrack. Jason Kochrack has a missed cut, a few missed cuts, actually, a few middling performances. But when we take a look at his shots gained metrics, they paint a completely different picture. So if you guys saw my sleepers video from today, you know what I'm talking about. So first of all, he's still top 5 in the field in birdie or better percentage, yet he's missed 2 of his last 3 cuts. I mean, and that's a recent form type metric right there. That we're not talking about the whole 2020 season or anything like that. We're talking over the last 24 rounds kind of numbers. And so for him to be that high of a birdie maker, yet still miss some cuts, that just tells you the kind of volatility that he has in his game. And the last time we saw him take down a tournament over here in Las Vegas, it was at Shadow Creek, which is a course I comp very similarly to this. Of course, that's relatively easy. A course where putting is a lot more important than everything else. There's a lot of good signs going here for Jason Kochrack. And a little bit of an added bonus is that he's sponsored by MGM. He plays out here all the time. He probably has more rounds on this course than just about anybody not named Kevin Na, who already withdrew from this event. And by the way, the reason why Kevin Na would have the most tournament and the most rounds here is he lives on the golf course. So only reason I would have said that, again, he already withdrew, so we don't necessarily have to worry about that. We'll go over a question here since I saw it. Luke, I missed your analysis of the guys in the 10K range. Who do you like? So I'll go over my favorite option there real quick. So we'll talk about Abraham Answer. He's my favorite play just because I expected him to be like 25, 28% owned. He's coming in at half that ownership. So somebody expected to have to fade. A great course fit, very good on approach, good on bent grass greens, a solid putter in general. I think Webb's a sneaky play. Somebody I actually had as a fade earlier on the week. I wouldn't say he's my favorite play, though. Don't have as much confidence in him as somebody like Answer, but very similar type player, good with his approaches, good on the greens as well. So if that answers your question there, I like those two a lot. And you probably already saw my video earlier this week on the core plays. So you know I like Louis, you know I like Scotty Scheffler there. So yeah, if you need to know about anyone else, just let me know, man. I'm more than willing to go back and hit on whoever you need. So let's go and continue down with this high 8K range here. So we'll get to Patrick Reed, also one of my core plays for the week. You can see he's my models. #1 ranked play this week. And a lot of it has to do with the short game. Obviously, somebody who's very good on bent grass greens. Also, somebody who's good in just putting at general. So really like him this week. He's somebody who's definitely being overlooked. Haven't seen him in quite some time. The last time we did see him, it was at the Tour Championship. And obviously was dealing with getting back from pneumonia. It was very weak. You could see that with his play. Was hitting the ball a lot shorter than usual. Gets still shot under par for all 4 rounds at East Lake and still had a top 15 finish in terms of raw score. So you love to see that from Patrick Reed. The guy gets out of the hospital bed, is still a top 15 player in the field of the best players in the world. This is a steal of a price tag. I mean, the guy's got his legs under him at this point. The guy clearly is going to be a lot stronger than he was before. Fits the golf course perfectly, is a short game specialist, somebody who's very good with his off the tee play. Approach play. And if there's anything that, and I was getting ahead of myself here, if there's anything that he's bad at, it's his off the tee play. And if there's anything at the Shriners that's a little bit de-emphasized, it is that off the tee play. So definitely love Patrick Reed this week. Probably my favorite play on the entire slate, especially here in the 8K range. I just think that he's at a sweet spot in terms of your win equity versus your point per dollar kind of thing. One of my favorite plays there. Somebody I considered fading, Joaquin Neiman. He's being owned in over 20% of lineups, and he's in absolute dog shit form. And it's a massive but, he's a perfect course fit. So this is why he's getting all the attention that he is. Obviously, if you take a look at his long-term form, his pedigree in general, well underpriced for this field. So I'm going to be on Joaquin Neiman. I have this little funny feeling that he's either going to go out there and finish in the top 5 or finish essentially dead fucking last. There's no in between for somebody like him, but for me in GPP formats, I can't avoid him. He's just that good of a course fit for me. It's just unfortunate that everyone else seems to agree with me. So we'll leave it there, guys. You either take a stand on Neiman or against him. I'm going to have about 40% this week. Could not blame you for fading him, though. I understand it. It's an ownership thing. We'll leave it there. Matthew Wolff, I'm not going to go into a huge detail with him. Loved him last week. Love him again here. In terms of Eric Van Rooyen, if you guys saw my values video, I actually changed the rules for my values video just so I can end up talking about Eric Van Rooyen. I mean, that's how much I love the guy this week. Somebody who's very good in terms of birdie or better percentage, a very good approach player as well. Also somebody who is really good off the tee at times, right? He's a little bit streaky with that, can tend to spray it. But here at the Shriners, spraying it's not an issue. It's really much so wide open. Off the tee is the least correlated stat here at this golf course. Let's go through a few of these value plays here. Russell Henley, if you guys want to check out my values video, somebody I mentioned there, also mentioned him in the sleepers picks video. Very good on bent grass, very good approach player in general, like him there. Brian Harman, also talked about him a little bit earlier this week. Same thing with Mito Pereira. Love those guys. A few new names you'll see here. So this whole $7,400/$7,300 range that I have here marked down as a yes, this is a sweet spot range now. And the reason why I say this is, first of all, the guys below them I don't like very much. And hell, even this range above them, I'm not completely enthralled with these people. But these 5 golfers right here, I first of all think they have very solid floors. I also think they have a very high ceiling. So we'll start with Grillo. Grillo showed a lot last week. He was very good with his approach play, which he hadn't been for quite some time. So it was good to see him get back to that form. But he was also dropping quite a few putts. Not really in round 1. In round 1, he had a really bad day, but in round 2, made a ton of putts. They can carry that momentum here over the bent grass surface, which is by far his best surface. In fact, it's actually the only surface where Grillo gained strokes on the green. I like the vibes there. I like the momentum as well. I also like the price tag there at $7,400. Also really like Kevin Kisner, right? Probably completely different skill set than somebody like Emiliano Grillo, but a putting specialist. He's decent on bent grass. I just think he's a little bit of a sneaky play, right? A little bit better than the price tag would indicate there. I think Seamus Power is a great buyback spot. Obviously was disappointing with a missed cut last week. Somebody who was $8,600 last week. I was all over. So why wouldn't it be all over him all over again, right? Very good shots gained metrics. He's actually much better on bent grass than he was on Bermuda grass. So perhaps a lot of those putts that were lipping out last week, I don't know if you guys saw the highlight reel of it. He had 4 lip outs on day 2, only missed the cut by 1 stroke. All it takes is 1 or 2 of those to drop and he makes the cut. So really like his chances this week, especially with the type of skill set that he has. Cam Davis, if you guys saw my core picks, you know I'm all over him. Charles Schwartzel, somebody who hasn't played in quite some time, but the last 4 times you've seen him out was very solid, gaining with his ball striking in every event, also gaining with his putting. So like those 2 skill sets there. for this type of golf course in Summerlin. Pat Perez, a Las Vegas guy, somebody who gets it done with the putting. Really all the recent form is not going to be great with Pat Perez, but somebody who, again, fits the area, is very familiar with it. I'll be playing him. And now to Stuart Sink. Stuart Sink, probably not my favorite play in this range. Just going to go ahead and let you guys know that. I'm playing him just because he has a little bit of volatility I'm looking for. Somebody kind of like Bryson DeChambeau, who's going to make a ton of birdies. He's going to put quite a few bogeys on the board as well. But in terms of fantasy formats, especially GPP formats, that's what you're looking for. So more of a GPP play. Wouldn't recommend him for cash. Somebody I love in this range, Ian Poulter. If you guys saw my values video, he's been much better of late than people would expect, especially since the Ryder Cup was such a disappointment for Ian Poulter. A lot of people expect him to be in horrible form or something like that. But if you take a look at our recent form model there, he's number 5 in the field. So obviously the numbers paint a little bit of a different picture than what the narrative is right now. So I think it's a really good spot to target. Sebastian Munoz, he's a popper. He's somebody who can turn around his form at any point. So always love targeting him, especially in these birdie fests. Lanto Griffin, much better than his price tag would indicate. Same thing with Garrett Kigo. I mean, Garrett Kigo should be priced in that mid 8K range at the very least. You're going to see that type of pedigree from him here in the 2021 season. I mean, hell, this guy came out in his first ever tour appearance and won. Obviously, won multiple times internationally last year. In fact, 2 times the month prior to him winning over here at the Palmetto Championship. You want to be early on Garrett Kigo just because he's just an absolute stud. I mean, probably not the best golf course for him. I mean, he's a little bit of a putting specialist, a little bit of an around the green specialist. So at tough golf courses, Garrett Kigo is going to be dominant in the future. And in terms of right now, I don't hate him. Right? He's somebody who, if he's the kind of player that I think he is, it doesn't necessarily matter what golf course it is. Adam Hadwin in great form. Don't hate going there. Adam Schenk, somebody I love as a buyback. So Adam Schenk, a high birdie or better percentage player, somebody who's not the best on Bermuda grass. It's only his second best surface. So maybe that's why we saw him struggle a little bit last week. But bent grass, by far his favorite. Gains an additional third of a stroke per round on those surfaces. So we loved Adam Schenk last week. He was my number 1 value play of the week. Gonna love him even more this week, even after the missed cut. I mean, he missed it right on the number. He made 3 birdies on the back 9 of Friday to try and go ahead and make the cut. Was just 1 short. I'm not going to hold that against him, as many elders in the industry will. I mean, just a little bit of psychology involved there, right? You feel like you got burned by a player. You don't want to go back there. Even if you'd feel much better about it if he missed the stroke at +5, right? Missed the cut at +5. You'd be like, oh, whatever, he had a bad week. He can bounce back next week. When a guy misses the cut on the number, you get pissed off, right? So you have that emotional response. You're not willing to play him. But in reality, you'd much rather have the guy that shot -3 and missed it by 1 stroke than the guy that shot +5 and was complete dog shit. So keep that in mind, guys. Try not to play psychological games on each other. We'll go over a question here in the chat since we have some time. So we have Siwoo Kim, Kochrack, Reed, Van Royen, Henley, Pereira for GPP. Wow, so that's like an ultra balanced approach. So you don't have anyone priced below, I believe your cheapest guy there's going to be Pereira at $7,800. Who do you like and who do you not like? So definitely so they're all guys that I have in my pool. So I'm going to like all of them, to be honest with you. But if there's anybody I was going to poke a hole out there, I just think maybe not having one of the guys in that top end range. If your most expensive guy is Siwoo Kim, you're leaving out some of the top end range people that I really like, Scotty Scheffler, people like Louis Oosthuizen. You're also leaving out people like Webb Simpson or Abraham Ancer. If I was going to poke a hole at anything in that lineup, and I don't necessarily think I need to, I do think that's a lineup that can definitely get it done. It would be just to try and take somebody from that top end range, but I don't think you need to change anything. Just trying to give you something to answer your question for you. Let's get down here to some of the more value picks that I like, guys. Steven Yeager looked amazing last week. You can go back there. This is a putter's golf course, and he's a putting specialist. Just don't want to put him out in a cash lineup. He's just somebody who's a little bit too young to trust in that kind of sense. KH Lee played him last week. I'll be all over him again. Again, burned a lot of people because he missed the cut by just 2 strokes. Decent course fit. Is much better on bent than he is on his other surfaces. So might be a good spot for him to rebound, just like somebody like Schenk. Let's talk about these 3 putters here. Don't want to say I don't recommend them. They're just not names that you want to click on in lineups, but they're putting specialists, people that are good with their wedges, people that can put the ball in play, all seemingly great course fits, right? So Brendan Steele in the best form of the bunch. He'd probably be the one I'm the most confident in. Fortunately, also garnering the most ownership right there. Brent Snedeker, probably my second favorite. And I'm using Zach Johnson as a pure flyer. I mean, you can see he's my number 16 ranked player in my modeling. Just a little bit more of the long-term form seeping into that. I'm not huge on him. I mean, he's looked complete crap of late, but very good course fit at the very least for what that's worth. I'm getting down to some of these mid 6K range, and to be honest with you guys, I'm not really diving into this range very often. I'm trying to live in this upper 6K range as much as I can, and obviously that $7,400 range right here with these 5 golfers, I'm trying to hammer that home. So let's talk about a few of the guys I'm using as flyer picks, though. So we'll talk about Rory Sabatini. Obviously had the silver medal at the Olympics. Is somebody who's a ball striker at times, also gained strokes putting at the Fortinet. So if he can continue that momentum on the greens, could have a very good week. Same thing with Peter Malnati. Peter Malnati, very good week on the greens. Just needs to turn around the off the tee play. Lost 2 strokes off the tee last week. If he hadn't done that, probably would have finished in the top 10. And at $6,500, he at least gives you a lot of birdie upside. Harry Higgs has not hit a ball straight in like 3 or 4 months. You have him down as a yes just because if he figures that out, he has everything else working great. I mean, he's been great around the green. He's been great on the greens as well. Typically, Harry Higgs, especially back in 2020, 2019, that kind of thing, was a great ball striker. So I'm not sure what the hell happened with him. But I'm buying back in on him. You know, somebody in this range every single week ends up returning back to form and no one expects it. So why not Harry Higgs? And again, take that for what it's worth. Brandon Todd, somebody who just like Brendan Steele, somebody just like Brent Snedeker, is a putting specialist, also very good on bent grass. Again, the recent form hasn't really been there, but when we take a look at the metrics of pass, especially what's correlated to success, shots gained total, one of the least correlated stats. So a lot of times the winner from this event is coming in with bad form. I mean, just take a look at Martin Laird last year. It's coming in absolutely atrocious form and ended up winning. Definitely possible at this event. And I would venture to say that it happens more often at this event than at others. Tom Hoge, very similar situation. The birdie maker, somebody who hasn't shown much form of late, but again, every year at this golf tournament, there's people that just end up turning it on. And I'm trying to target the people that actually have the upside to do so. The people that have the birdie or better percentage with enough volatility to actually capture that upside. You know, if we go to somebody like Russell Knox, he doesn't have that upside. He's somebody who is a little bit more of a par maker, doesn't have as high a birdie or better percentage. So when he has a ceiling week, it's not a 23, it's not a 25 under par type performance like somebody like Tom Hoge is actually capable of putting up. Getting back to some of the other parts here, let's talk about Sam Ryder. It was a pick I loved last week. It's just like Adam Shank, just like a few of the other value picks that we're going back to here, is much better on bent grass than the other surfaces. So like that right there. Brendan Hagee is a popper at times, really high birdie or better percentage, very good off the tee. Same thing with Wyndham Clark. I mean, hell, Brendan Hagee, Wyndham Clark, essentially the same player with a different name. I mean, you take a look at the shot gain metrics, pretty much going to give you the same story there. Talk about Sepp Straka. Sepp Straka is a birdie maker as well, highly volatile player. Gets it done with the irons. Haven't seen much from him of late. Again, that's why he's priced at $6,200. So you're really getting what you pay for down here. You can see that I'm definitely targeting these guys with more volatility. Mark Hubbard, same kind of story. Does it more with the putting and short game though. Adam Long, a much better player than the rest of his counterparts down here. Again, haven't seen much form from him recently, but I'm okay going there at the dead minimum price tag. The last guy I want to talk about, good old Harry Hall. Monday qualifier this week. He shot 12 under in one round. The guy shot a 60. I'm all over guys like that, right? If they're coming in with great form, it doesn't matter who the hell you are. Maybe you can carry that over into the weekend. The last time someone was able to do that, Corey Connors. And Corey Connors is a fixture on the PGA Tour now. So definitely possible. I'm probably going to have him in 1 or maybe 2 of my 150 lineups. Nothing in terms of a main cash or anything like that, but hell, you never know. He could be the next Corey Connors. So going to leave it at that, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live stream here. If you guys have any questions and you're watching the replay, feel free to go ahead and put them down in the comments. I'll try to get to them when I see them. As always, guys, good luck with all of your lineups this week, and I'll see you guys next week.